Her hand shook slightly as she held the pen. Around her, the room shimmered with Christmas lights, soft music, and polite laughter. The contrast was painful. What looked like a celebration felt like a public ending to her marriage and her pride. Standing among designer dresses, confident smiles, and raised glasses, Elena Whitmore quietly signed her divorce papers in the middle of a Christmas party. It felt less like closure and more like humiliation. A single tear slid down her face unnoticed. No one paid attention, and no one in that room had any idea who she truly was. Before the story continues, we ask you one small favor. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the way truth can change lives, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Also, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support truly means more than you know. Ashford Manor looked beautiful that evening, yet it felt colder than ever. Elegant decorations lined the walls, and Christmas lights glowed softly, but warmth was missing. Elena sat at the long wooden table, her shoulders slightly bent forward, her gray coat still wrapped tightly around her as if it were protection. Holiday music played gently in the background, but it barely reached her ears. Her focus was fixed on the thin stack of papers in front of her and the life-changing choice she was being forced to make in front of people who once called her family. Those standing around her believed they understood her story. To them, Elena was ordinary, fragile, and easily replaced. For years, she had been the quiet presence in the room. She had married into wealth without realizing how quickly comfort could become control and how love could disappear when status mattered more than loyalty. She set aside her own dreams, choosing calm over conflict, privacy over attention. When her marriage began to fall apart, Elena tried to repair it quietly. She avoided drama. She hoped that dignity could survive even if love could not. But dignity rarely survives in places filled with judgment and pride. As she signed the papers, the looks around her hurt more than words ever could. Some guests smiled with fake kindness, others exchanged meaningful glances, a few didn't bother hiding their satisfaction. To them, Elena was the woman who failed, the one who couldn't hold on to her place in a powerful family. The party continued without pause. Glasses clinked, conversations flowed. Her heartbreak became background noise, like another decoration on the tree. What no one there understood was that Elena had learned silence long before she learned sacrifice. She was raised to value discipline, responsibility, and humility, not because she lacked privilege, but because she was taught that character mattered more than attention. Her past was never spoken about, not because she was ashamed, but because she chose privacy. Years earlier, she had walked away from a life of extreme wealth to build something meaningful on her own. She never mentioned her father, Charles Whitmore, a man whose name influenced industries and whose presence changed entire rooms. Elena believed love should exist without money or power holding it up. She believed people showed their true nature when they thought no one important was watching. That night, as she signed the final page under soft Christmas lights, she saw exactly how right she had been. When the pen lifted from the paper, something unexpected happened. A calm settled inside her. The pain remained, heavy and real, but beneath it was clarity. She understood that this place, these people, and this chapter no longer controlled her future. What they saw as her lowest moment was actually her release. She carefully folded the documents, her hands now steady, and placed them on the table. As the evening went on, quiet whispers spread through the room, but none of them carried the truth. No one knew that earlier that day a private jet had landed quietly at a nearby airport. No one questioned the arrival of a few unfamiliar guests who were dressed simply but carried themselves with quiet confidence. And no one noticed the change in Elena's posture when she sensed, without turning, that someone important had arrived. The truth did not arrive with loud announcements or attention-seeking gestures. It came calmly, the way real influence often does. When Charles Whitmore entered the room, conversations slowed. Some guests recognized him immediately. Others felt the shift without understanding why. His eyes scanned the room until they rested on Elena. In that moment, everything changed. Laughter faded, smiles became uncertain. Those who looked down on her suddenly avoided eye contact. Charles didn't speak loudly or demand focus. He simply walked to his daughter and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. That single gesture said more than words ever could. The realization settled heavily over the room. Elena was not a woman who had lost everything. She was someone who had chosen to step away from excess, and now she was free to return to her own world on her own terms. Elena felt no need for revenge. She didn't seek apologies or satisfaction. What mattered was being seen for who she truly was, not who others assumed her to be. The people who laughed had revealed their own character. She understood that strength isn't shown by how loudly someone wins, but how calmly they endure. As she walked away from the party, the Christmas lights felt different, less cold, more hopeful. The night air felt lighter, as if years of weight had finally lifted from her shoulders. Elena moved forward not as someone who had been saved, but as someone who had reclaimed herself. Her future was open, no longer shaped by judgment, appearances, or expectations, but by choice. If this story touched you, if Elena's quiet courage and resilience meant something to you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Also, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support truly means more than you know. And before we end, we have one final request. Please leave a comment with one word that describes how the story made you feel. Your words matter more than you realize, because often the people who appear the weakest are carrying the greatest strength. And sometimes the quietest tears mark the beginning of the strongest new chapter.